Oh no, I have a judging round that I was supposed to make 20 minutes ago. I need to go. But where do I go? I think I remember someone saying that I need to go to the judges' table. Let's go find that. This looks like it could be the judges' table. Let me see. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Brady Liu. I'm here to judge debate.
Hi, Mr. Liu. Thank you so much for judging for us today. What event are you judging?
I believe it's Congress?
Yes, Congressional debate. I'm so glad you're here. Is this your first time?
Yes, this is my first time.
Okay, so I'll quickly explain. You have a lot of time. Thank you for coming early, about 20 minutes earlier than your event. We really appreciate it. So how it works is your room is going to have approximately 20 to 23 people. They're called congressional members. And for each of them, you're going to be given a ballot. So how this works is each student name is on the top, and it's pretty self-explanatory on how you fill it out.
Student name?
Yes.
What school code?
School code, they usually have it, or you'll be given a seating chart with the school code on it. So just representative of which school they come from.
Okay.
Session will be session 1, whichever room it is, chamber. And please write your name. All your critiques for the questioning period will be listed on the bottom left of the ballot, and you can give them a rank at the end. Now, keep in mind that not every student gives all their 3 speeches in a row. So often you'll see that one student will give a speech, and then you have to move on to the next student, and the next student, and then maybe the first student gives his second speech. So you have to find his ballot again.
So does everyone give 3 speeches?
No, not always. Sometimes they can give 1, sometimes they can give 2, or sometimes they can give 3. And that's based on something called precedence. So how it works is whoever stands up first for the first speech automatically gets first priority when everyone else gets the first speech for the next speech. And that's determined by the congressional rules on txfa.org.
So do I decide who stands up first? Who decides this?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me, because there's something called the presiding officer, which is elected by the members at the beginning of the session. And how it works is that person, known as the presiding officer, is in control of the chamber, and he is elected. And it's his discretion based on the NFL rules and the TXFA rules on how to choose and where to choose. And it's in his priority to explain his procedures. Now, I'm sure you're very confused on how to evaluate a presiding officer compared to competitors. And well, there's a couple of things. For one, we have a PO ballot, which is right here. And you basically explain and talk about all the things they could improve or what you appreciated of them. And you also give them a rank.
What aspects should I be looking for in a presiding officer?
Efficiency, how they're controlling the chamber, and in terms of like how nice they are for representatives, and if their rules are fair. And even if you're not sure about the rules, you can quickly access them on txfa.org. Or if there's a confusion in the chamber, you can always ask for a clarification. As the judge, you have the power to make sure all of your doubts in round are clarified. And feel free to ask. Now, there's another thing I need to explain to you about, and that's called parliamentary procedure. Like our Congress in the United States and even in Texas, there's parliamentary procedure to help delegate how the round goes. And for example, some of the basic ones are motion to recess. At that point, that means the members want a break approximately between 5 to 10 minutes, and that means you also have a break. So please use that time for any restroom breaks, water breaks, or anything else.
Are they going to be debating the same things over and over?
Once again,
3 speeches on one
great
thing?
questions. So every round by the tournament is assigned certain amount of items and certain items for them to debate in the round. So let's say for round 1 of the Plano Senior High School Debate Tournament back in September of 2014, we may have debated number 2, number 7, number 9, and number 13 in no particular order. And the members at the beginning of the chamber before PO elections or even after PO elections can choose their docket by delegating and voting together.
That sounds great, but what are these numbers?
So these numbers are on the txfa.org website, and they have a docket, either fall or spring, with the 30 topics. And each tournament and the tournament director, it's up to their discretion on which topics are assigned to which rounds.
And the competitors will clarify
And the competitors will clarify.
Okay. Yeah. And I saw a variety of numbers next to the speeches.
Yes.
What do these mean?
Yes. So for each speech, if you can look in here, there's a speech and you write the notes. Please keep in mind that there's a side. The first F is usually called the sponsor, which means they're sponsoring or introducing the legislation.
Okay.
After that, you can either check mark AF or neg. Now, there's 1 through 6 speaker points, but keep in mind that anything below 3 is not advisable because that really, really destroys the student's confidence. You can keep it at a minimum of 3 and explain what you didn't like. Usually the speaker's points, or these points, can be anywhere from fluency to analysis. That's also up to your discretion.
So it's up to me what I value more when it comes to fluency or analysis?
Yes.
Okay, what other major things are there to look for in a speaker?
Right. One other thing that we advise that because it's congressional debate and it's about legislation, a lot of it's controversial topics. So we request and recommend judges to keep their predetermined notions and any political bias out, because when it comes to congressional debate, the major mindset that representatives and judges should have is about persuasion. Each representative is representing many constituents of his own, and he's trying to persuade other members in the chamber to vote with him on either resolutions or bills.
Okay, so you talk a lot about how they're giving speeches over and over. Well, how does the debate aspect play into this?
Right, so basically the debate aspect is that, let's say there's a sponsor or the first AF, then someone comes up on the neg and refutes that person, and the AF refutes the neg, and it's kind of like a cycle. But that doesn't mean it has to go AF neg, AF neg. Let's say there's no AFs and there's 3 or 4 negs. According to the TXFA rules, as of fall of 2014, there can be 3 back-to-back same sides before it automatically goes into previous question. And previous question means that they're voting on the item and moving on to the next one. Usually recesses happens between items. So like after they vote for the first item, after the previous question, they vote on it, and then they take a recess between 5 to 10 minutes, generally advised, before they go on to the next
Okay,
item.
one last thing. How long will one of these rounds be?
Great question. Usually preliminary rounds, also based on the tournament discretion, is about 3 hours, and finals is about 2 hours. Now these rules are different based on each tournament because of the number of rounds, but in general the minimum amount of debate for a whole tournament has to be 5 hours. Generally competitors tend to know what the duration is for that round, and if they do not, you can always ask the tournament director.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said a lot of jargon like AF and neg. Could you explain this in relevance with debate?
Yes, so the affirmative is a person advocating for the pro side, and the negative is advocating for a person in the negation side. Basically, if there's a resolution, and if someone feels that it should be passed, they would go on the AF side. And if someone feels like that isn't in the best interest of the people of America, they would go on the con side. Thank you.
I feel ready to judge my congressional debate round now. Let me go find the room. Oh wow, are all these people waiting for me?
Yes, are you the judge, sir?
Yes sir, I am.
It looks like we can all go in, guys. The judge is here.
Go on in.
Head on in.
After you. No, after you. No, please. After you.
Thank you, sir.
After you.
Thank you.
After you. After you, Judge.
Thank you. So, this is my first time judging congressional debate. Where should I be seated?
You can sit anywhere in the back over there. Yeah, that's your table over there.
Is that fine with you guys? Can you guys move out front?
Yeah, they're good.
Okay.
Okay, hey guys, I'm going to be the presiding officer for today. Is there anyone else willing to run? That sounds good. The docket for today is going to be it's going to be 1, 4, 5, and 7. These are the numbers assigned to us by the tournament directors for this round. This round is going to last approximately 3 hours. Let me quickly explain my gaveling procedures. 1 tap at 2 minutes, 2 taps at 2:30, 3 taps at 2:55. I'll start gaveling you down at 3:03. Keep in mind that our judge is in the back, so make sure that you're addressing everyone in the chamber as well as the judge. For questions, I'm going to go off of questioning precedents. Now, is there any questions about my procedures?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Can I have a copy of those items?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. As a judge, it is your responsibility to know the legislation and the items that were...
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Representative Singh.
What is your definition of prefacing?
So prefacing and how it works is that before, when a competitor is asking a question, if they have a clause before the question word, that's generally considered prefacing. Sometimes that will be allowed based on how quick the question is. However, it's not going to be allowed if you bring in outside information in the round. Are there any other questions? Yes, Representative Mondo.
Are competitors allowed to ask 2 questions?
They will be allowed to ask 2 questions if everyone else that's standing up has already asked a question. Representative Samani.
Do you take clash into account during question period?
I'm so glad you asked that. This is congressional debate, so it's trying to foster a clash. So when considering that if many representatives have already asked multiple questions, then I will be looking for clash towards fostering more debate. Yes?
If a representative doesn't understand the question, may the questioner rephrase that question?
Yes. According to NFL and TXFA rules, you are allowed to rephrase the question, and that's at the discretion of the presiding officer. Yes, Representative Putler.
Are we doing direct cross in this chamber?
I'm so glad you asked that. Every tournament has the discretion to stipulate whether they want direct cross-examination or not. Direct cross-examination is essentially a questioning period where a representative has the ability for 30 seconds to continue to ask questions to the speaker. This tournament does not have direct cross-examination, but others may. Okay, we'll now begin this.
I have one more quick question.
Yes.
You talk a lot about gaveling and 2 minutes and a
Yes.
variety of other things.
Yes.
Are speeches always 3 minutes long?
The speech limit is 3 minutes long with 10 seconds grace. After 3 minutes and 10 seconds, the judges should be noted that either the speaker point is docked or the fact that the representative actually went over the time limit.
But they aren't disqualified.
No, they are not disqualified.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, another rule is that if a congressional competitor speaks on the wrong side, they have 10 seconds to realize that they spoke on the wrong side and sit down. If they do not, then they're still scored for that speech. The precedence is still counted, but it affects them negatively because they spoke on the wrong side.
Are they capped at a certain score?
Yes, they're capped at 3.
Thank you.
Also, according to TXFA rules for fall of 2014, the time limit for that item is 45 minutes, and the presiding officer should know that. If the judge has any questions about any of the legislation or any of the rules for NFL and TXFA, they have the power to ask the representatives or the presiding officer at any time.
Okay.
Also,
thank you.
keep in mind for recesses, I am advising the congressional members to keep it below 10 minutes and generally between 5 to 10 minutes towards making sure that we don't lose too much time. Okay, then at 2:25, I'll call this session into order.